Hi everybody, Dr. Shook here. I hope you're doing well today. This is a really important topic that I want to share with you in this live stream, and it is how to improve your thyroid without doing anything to your thyroid. I know that sounds crazy, right? How can you improve your thyroid if we don't do something to the thyroid? And here's the thing that most people don't know, most doctors don't know. Most of you have thyroid symptoms, and it's not because of your thyroid, okay? The number one cause of hypothyroidism and thyroid problems in the United States is an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And it causes destruction of the gland that ultimately results in your inability to produce and manufacture thyroid hormone adequately. Okay? So, first of all, that is something that needs to be discussed and addressed. In the conventional medical model, there's nothing that they can do for it. And it's not that they're not intelligent people. It's not that they are not trying to help you. There's no conspiracy. The fact is that their tools are medications. If you come in and you have hypothyroidism, then they have the perfect fix for that, and that is a thyroid hormone replacement. But the cause of the hypothyroidism, they have nothing for it, and therefore it is ignored, okay? So the first thing you need to understand is that the most common cause of hypothyroidism, up to 90% of the cases, is due to Hashimoto's thyroiditis, an autoimmune thyroid condition. This means millions and millions and millions of people are dealing with hypothyroidism because of Hashimoto's, first and foremost. Now, the problem becomes, even if you're hypothyroid and they give you medications, millions of people continue to feel bad, or some of them even feel worse once they're given that medication, or they're on a roller coaster where they feel good, bad, and nothing seems to make any sense. Now, let me tell you, addressing the Hashimoto's is really the first thing that you need to do. But the consequences of the Hashimoto's also disrupt thyroid hormone chemistry significantly and can cause you to feel terrible. Okay? So one of the primary problems that we see with Hashimoto's and with autoimmunity is that we have an increased inflammatory load. Okay? So think about this for a second. You have this autoimmune process that's going on. The immune system is attacking the tissues and it's creating inflammation. Okay, it's creating inflammation. Well, there are consequences to inflammation throughout the body. One of the consequences occurs at the cell. So every single cell in your body requires thyroid hormone to go into the cell and attach itself to the DNA, to your DNA inside this second circle, which is called the nucleus in the center of the cell. Every cell from brain to bone requires thyroid hormone to go inside the cell, attach itself to the DNA, where it stimulates what we call a proteomic response. Okay? It changes cellular physiology significantly. Okay? So when most people are dealing with these thyroid-related issues, they don't realize. They only think of these of thyroid-related symptoms as being addressed, or the only way to address them is with the quantity or amount of the hormone. This couldn't be further from the truth, because thyroid physiology is a process that is much more than just the quantity of the hormone. So most people and most doctors look at one thing. Do you have enough hormone in the body? If you don't, let's give you some. If you have too much, let's do something to suppress that. But what about the rest of the chemistry? Because once you have the thyroid hormone in the body, it has to be transported to the liver primarily. The liver then converts that hormone into the active form, dumps it back into the bloodstream, where it has to be transported again throughout the circulatory system to every single cell in the body, where then the thyroid hormone has to detach itself from a little protein that carries it through the blood, and it has to go into the cell, attach to the DNA receptor, and stimulate the change in the cells that you need to have normal function, right? And to not feel bad, right? So that can break down well over 20 ways, right? Well over 20 ways, that entire physiological process, and the quantity or amount of your hormone is only one of those 24 steps, okay? It's very important to understand this. This is why so many people continue to feel bad, even when their labs are normal or when they're taking thyroid hormone replacement. Now, the one thing that you can do, though, is understand that if you have an autoimmune process like Hashimoto's, which most people that have thyroid problems do, right? We just talked about that. If you have another type of autoimmunity or chronic inflammatory process, then you're going to have major problems right here where free T3 is the form of thyroid hormone that goes in and attaches to this receptor, okay, inside the cell, free T3. Now, the problem is you're going to have a lot of difficulty with stimulating the cell normally if you have a high inflammatory load, which we've already said is what? It's created by autoimmunity, which is what? Like up to 9 out of 10 people that have hypothyroidism have a high inflammatory load due to an autoimmune process. So you have to address the autoimmunity. But the byproduct of this autoimmune process is inflammation that we can measure, okay, a few different ways. There's a few different types of inflammation. Some are related to Hashimoto's, some are not. So let me talk to you about a few of the ways that we can look at this inflammatory load. This is something I do with every person that I work with. So number one, we look at something called CRP, or high sensitivity C-reactive protein. Okay? It is an inflammatory marker that we can look at to give us an idea of whether or not there's active tissue inflammation and a high inflammatory load. If there's a high CRP, then we can be certain that we're going to have problems stimulating the cell properly, because this inflammatory load, what it does is it blunts or decreases sensitivity of the cell to the hormone. Okay? So no one ever told you this, right? You've been thinking the whole time that it's all about the quantity of the hormone, or you need maybe T3, or you need a mix of hormones. That is a piece of it. A piece is getting the quantity of the hormone right. But how many steps are there? There are well over 20 ways this thyroid hormone physiology can break down. And if you're looking at quantity only, you are missing the majority of the problem. I can tell you right now. It is something that needs to be looked at, but there is a huge amount of physiology that can still be disrupted, that has to be addressed. And the number one thing I see is high inflammatory load that's being completely missed, because the doctors don't know that they should look for it because they don't have training in it. And that's okay. That's okay. They're doing the best that they can for you. So high CRP. So we're looking at C-reactive protein. We also want to look at, I abbreviated it, and it's homocysteine. Homocysteine, okay? Homocysteine is a normal byproduct of metabolism, okay? It's part of your methylation pathways. To have proper methylation, you have to produce homocysteine and metabolize it. Now, when homocysteine levels go higher, one of the things that we know of many, there are many consequences to high homocysteine, like neurodegenerative conditions are implicated with high homocysteine. That's brain degeneration is implicated with homocysteine. But homocysteine also does something very interesting. It blunts the sensitivity of the cell to the T3. So again, receptor sensitivity is down-regulated. So you don't have normal sensitivity. So in both of these cases, what can happen? You can have normal, right? Normal amounts of thyroid hormone, completely normal, everything looks great, but you have no sensitivity at the cell. None. Or it's very low, or it's dampened. So you're wondering why you don't feel well, because no one's looking at the whole picture. Okay, this is a very specialized, this has taken me years to understand, because I've dealt with these issues myself, with autoimmunity, with thyroid problems, and you have to, it has taken me years to understand this physiology to the degree that I understand it now. And this is why it's important that you have more information about what's going on here. It's not as simple as looking at the amount of hormone. So what's the third thing? So we've got C-reactive protein, homocysteine, and then I'm going to put here AI for autoimmunity. Okay, autoimmunity. Autoimmunity is a huge issue. It is epidemic around the world. So many people are autoimmune and they have no idea that they're autoimmune. And the way that we know that is because I work with people primarily that are autoimmune, and what our primary focus in working with them is to address the drivers of the autoimmune process. Okay, so we're looking for drivers of the autoimmune process, and we typically will investigate 3 very broad categories. We will look at a tremendous amount of foundational biochemistry, like these markers, a ton of labs that would be done more commonly at a traditional lab, but that no one is going to order for you because no insurance company is going to pay for them, because according to the insurance-based guidelines, they're not necessary. They're not. You don't fit their definition of sick yet. Okay, so you don't get, like, your doctors won't order CRP in most cases. They won't order homocysteine. They won't look at autoimmune markers because, well, first of all, C-reactive protein and homocysteine are usually only done with people in a cardiologist or a neurologist office after they've had a heart attack or a stroke. And then, after you've had all the problems, then they're going to look at these markers and say, ooh, these risk factors, guess what? They're off the charts. So we need to do something about them. See, we want to take a preventative approach, and we want to look at all of the factors now to figure out what's breaking down, contributing to these problems and these symptoms that you're having, so that we can work to prevent more serious degenerative problems and work to get your health back. Figure out what's going on. Why don't you feel well? So we look for these driving factors. So these are, we could go into lectures on each of these things individually, but the most important thing, the biggest improvement is addressing inflammatory load in the body. Whenever I'm working with someone, that is my first priority. It doesn't matter, you're autoimmune. It is foundational to all human physiology. Is there a high inflammatory load? If so, why? Because it will disrupt numerous physiological pathways and you will not feel well. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you do. So you can't skip it. You cannot skip it. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, no one's told me this, no one's helped me with this, I need help figuring this out. If you need help, we can help you. I work with people all over the world. I do consulting with people in other countries. We go through very detailed health histories with them. We will help them get testing, very in-depth testing, to investigate the physiological changes that we need to look at, that have to be looked at to help people figure out what to do to best, have the best opportunity at improving their health. And we help them put these pieces together and formulate strategies and plans to help them, try to get their health back. If you're interested or if you're struggling with this, you can go to new.thyroidconsult.com and you can read all about, that's our application for care page. You can read all about working with me as a distance consulting client. We work with people across the United States, around the world, and we try to help them understand these problems that are likely contributing to their symptoms, and just help them put the pieces together so that we can untangle this web, this knot of problems, and start working on getting their health back, really by addressing cause. We're trying to, as much as we can, dig. So if we have high C-reactive protein, why? Right? What's driving that inflammatory load high? Is it an autoimmune condition? If we have autoimmunity, what is driving the immune response within the body? Do we have food sensitivities? Do we have chronic infections? Could be bacteria, viruses, parasites, or fungal infections. Do we have chemical reactivity? Do you have exposure to chemicals that you're just getting every day in your everyday life that's triggering an immune response? Do you have, is there something else going on that we're not aware of? And so we want to look and do the best job that we can to uncover the drivers of these processes, because if we don't, we're never going to help you get your health back. You're never going to have optimal health. So we've got to dig. We got to dig. So if you need help or anything, don't hesitate. Reach out to us. We'll do the best that we can for you. If you want to learn more, we have hundreds of videos. You can continue learning. It's my mission to help people to improve their health, and really one person at a time, because we can change the world doing that. If I help you improve your health, that will have a positive impact on your family. That your family will have a positive impact on your community, and that will ultimately change the world one person at a time. I want you to be your own advocate. I want you to learn about your health, and I want you to ask questions. You need to be actively participating in getting your health back. You have to. You have to today, because there's so much information and there's so much new science that your doctors can't keep up with it. You just have to find someone that's willing to work with you, and then if you need specialty help, you get someone to help you put the pieces together so that you can work in a team environment to have the best opportunity to really get your health back. So if you need anything, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us or continue watching our videos. Hopefully they're helpful to you. But I hope this has been informative. And if you need anything, please do let us know. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Talk to you again soon. Thanks.